Welcome everyone to No DQ&A video. Hopefully the audio is working now. We are live with No DQ&A video, the official Q&A video series of NoDQ.com. My name is Aaron Rift. I am here to answer your wrestling questions. This is something I've been doing for quite a while now, going back 15 years and counting. I've been running No DQ since 1998. It's been a long time. I've seen a lot of wrestling, the good, the bad, the ugly, you name it. I've probably seen it. Not everything, but I have watched a fair amount of wrestling over the years. And thus, I am here to answer whatever questions you have. People sent in emails. I will get to those. Thank you to everybody that emailed questions. Now, of course, I very much appreciate super chat questions. And if you send a super chat, you get top priority. Your question will be guaranteed to be answered, and I will get to it right away. Having said that, let's get into the questions for this spring edition of No DQ&A video. We have some big WWE events coming up, and feel free to send me questions from any era. I'll try to answer to the best of my ability and knowledge for pretty much any era of wrestling that you want me to discuss or have an opinion on. Let's start with Ian. Ian is in the chat room. By the way, if you're watching live, feel free to send in some comments. Let me know your thoughts on these questions and even my answers, whether you agree or disagree. Ian sent in an email question, says, "Happy Sunday. Is it possible that John Cena does not lose the WWE title and he ends up retiring with it? And if so, should WWE come up with a new lineage?" I do not think that is going to happen. If I was to bet money on it, I would say he loses the title. Yes, he could leave with the title, but he would be leaving as a heel. I really do think that John Cena will go full circle by the end of his career. He'll turn back babyface. He'll apologize to everybody. Although, maybe from John Cena's perspective, retiring with the title as a heel would be the swerve that people are not expecting. It's wrestling. Anything is possible, but gun to my head, I say that does not happen. Highly unlikely in all likelihood. I also think it would be a bad idea to come up with a new lineage. The WWE Championship has a tremendous lineage. And I think that, yeah, Cena could get heat from doing that, but it hurts the future. You don't want to legitimately hurt WWE. This is all a storyline. You really don't want John Cena leaving with that title and then having to start a new title. It would just water down the title. It would hurt WWE business. As much of a swerve as it would be, it would not be good for business. And I think what people ultimately want is for John Cena to end as a good guy, come out there, be humble, and just drop the whole gimmick that he's doing right now. That's what I think people want. And ultimately, I think that's what they will deliver on. So I do not see him retiring with that championship. I really don't see that happening. Thank you for the question, Ian. And now we will get to Dwayne Atkinson, who sent in this email question. And this question is tied to John Cena as well. And this was the main headline for this episode of No DQ&A video. I think it's a very interesting question. He says, "Do you think we'll get to see John Cena with the Doctor of Thuganomics gimmick one more time before he retires?" John Cena right now is doing something different. I think that prior to the heel turn, that would have almost certainly been something that they would have discussed and would have produced on television. Basically, John Cena playing his greatest hits. But now he's doing something different. He's a heel. He's got a change in attitude. The fans want the Doctor of Thuganomics, and his whole character is all about not giving the people what they want. So again, like that first question, I think the odds are against it happening. Would it be cool to see him come out there and bring back that gimmick? Sure, but that's a babyface thing to do. And he's trying to get people not to like him right now. The only way I could see that happening is if he turns sooner than we think. Right now, my prediction is he'll turn around Survivor Series. He'll lose shortly before his last match. Last match in Boston, he'll probably be a babyface. In that case, if he turns before then, I think there's always that possibility. Hey, what about for his last match? He comes out there as the Doctor of Thuganomics. In a way, it would be fitting because I think that would truly be full circle. He started his career. Well, he wasn't the Doctor of Thuganomics, but early on, what got him to the top was that gimmick. That's what started his rise. So I think it would be fitting if he started off that way. That made him a headliner, and then he ends his career one last time with that gimmick. No, he's not going to be the prototype. That is not money. Money is Doctor of Thuganomics, John Cena coming out there rapping, doing that whole shtick. That would be fun for his last match. I'd be open to that. But if it doesn't happen then, or maybe slightly before that, I think it's unlikely that he'll go that route, just because it's a nostalgic thing, and right now what he's doing is something different. You know, the whole point of the heel turn was to shake things up for Cena's last run and not just rehash his old routines. But thank you for that, Dwayne. I do think that's a very interesting question. Shout out to Oofman. Oofman, who's been part of the No DQ review and some of the predictions panels. Good guy. I've met him in person. He sent in a $5 super chat, so thank you, Oofman, for that. Much appreciated. Oofman says, when John Cena does lose the title, could you see him actually tapping out / giving up? How poetic would that be? And Michael brought up in the chat room that he tapped to Kurt Angle before. Shh, let's ignore that. Just like WWE ignored that CM Punk was betrayed by Paul Heyman in 2013. Let's just forget about that one. I like the idea because that has been John Cena's gimmick. Ever since he started saying it, he hasn't tapped out. His shtick has always been never give up. I think that would be fitting if he tapped out to, say, Cody Rhodes or whoever beats him for the title. John Cena finally gives up. Now, again, I don't think he should do it at the last match in Boston. I really do think he should be a babyface for that. But whenever he loses the title, whether it's Survivor Series or SummerSlam or somewhere in between, my money's on Survivor Series at this point. I feel like they're gonna stretch out this title run as long as possible. But yeah, I would love that scenario. Maybe Cena loses the title, taps out at Survivor Series, and then he has to be humble, apologize to everybody, and then goes out on a high note for his last match in Boston. I like that idea. Cody wins the title back. I quit match. Cody Rhodes, the ultimate babyface. That is a money match. Ian, I think that's fantastic. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes in an I quit match. I'm a big fan of that. I think they should do that for Survivor Series if they stretch out the Cena title run, as long as I think they will. Thank you for that, Ian. And Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat, basically with that idea. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes 2 in an I Quit match. It reminds me of Bret Hart and Steve Austin. And back in the day when that match was announced, I thought Steve Austin was going to tap out. I thought, okay, he's just going to be another guy to put over Bret Hart. but they did the thing where he passed out and it made him huge. And in this case, Cena finally tapping out would be very memorable because he's never done it. I think of when Hulk Hogan tapped out to Kurt Angle, and that meant something because Hogan never tapped out. So for red and yellow Hulk Hogan to tap out to Angle, that was a really big deal. And I think John Cena tapping out, he's done. His career's over. He's passing the torch to Cody Rhodes or whoever beats him. Maybe it's Braun Breaker. They turn him babyface later this year. Who knows? Could be any number of guys. Doesn't necessarily have to be Cody Rhodes, but I like the idea because Cody is their top babyface right now, and he's basically the current John Cena. Shout out to Mr. Tito. And Mr. Tito said Hogan tapped out to Luger. Well, Hogan was NWO Hogan. That's different than red and yellow Hogan, as I said. Mr. Tito sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Tito. Says, when do you predict Naomi will join the Bloodline? Here we go, Mr. Tito. He's at me already. I don't think it's happening, in all seriousness. I have given up on that. I don't really think there's a Bloodline anymore. I've tried to answer a non-serious question seriously. I think they've moved on. I don't think there's any more Bloodline. I don't even really consider Solo Sikoa's group the Bloodline at this point. But I think there's still room for Naomi to potentially be in a group. Like, what if she went to Raw and joined Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker instead of Becky Lynch? I mean, there's an idea right there. I really do think Seth Rollins' group could use a female representative, just like Judgment Day had Rhea Ripley. I'd love to see Seth's group with a female representative, and if not Becky Lynch, I think that Naomi would be a great choice. But for now, it's over. And Naomi might not even be wrestling for that much longer. Let's be real here. She has gone out on the record and said that she's considering the possibility of having kids. And she might not wrestle that much longer. She might be doing this little run right now and then be done. This could be her last year unless she's swerving everybody. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Building Nexus. Thank you all for the super chats. They're much appreciated. And of course, as I mentioned, they do take priority. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, for John Cena's last match, maybe face Cena versus a heel Braun Breaker. There you go. I mean, if Cody Rhodes beats Cena, Cena comes out there, he's all humble, but then Braun Breaker interrupts Cena and says he's disappointed in Cena. He thought Cena was being real for the first time, and now he's going back to being a phony. Like, they could have him say something along those lines, and that could set up Cena's last match. The thing is, though, Cena will probably win his last match if he's not champion and he's a babyface in Boston. Would Braun Breaker be the right guy for that specific match where Cena's probably winning? You could go with a Braun Breaker. I mean, I guess it depends on how far along Braun Breaker is with his push and what happens with Seth Rollins. Somebody like Bronson Reed might be a better choice once Bronson comes back. Maybe a Miro type. They could run Cena versus Miro. I got to call him Rusev again, right? Rusev. They could do Cena versus Rusev one more time for Cena's last match. But yeah, it's interesting. Who should be Cena's last opponent? Let's say Cody beats him, or whoever beats him at Survivor Series. Cena goes back to being a babyface for his last match. Who would Cena face in his actual final match? Would it be a Braun Breaker? Would it be Rusev? Would it be Baron Corbin, as Michael said? If it's Baron Corbin, then I might as well stop watching wrestling at that point. I would say that there's a better chance of Vince McMahon appearing on WWE TV than John Cena versus Baron Corbin as Cena's last opponent. Here's an interesting one from Mr. Tito. Shout out to Mr. Tito. Make sure you guys check out his columns. He had a new one up this weekend about Sabu. Rest in peace, Sabu. Mr. Tito sent in $2, and there's some noise in the background. Mr. Tito, I apologize for that. Mr. Tito sent in $2 and said, what is your opinion on Nikki Bella paying child support? I think that Nikki Bella has a lot of money, and if anybody can afford to pay child support, it's her. Look, we don't know what happened behind closed doors. We only know what was reported. Artem ultimately was not charged. They dropped that, and they had their divorce proceedings. Nikki is paying Artem money to help with their son's care. They have joint custody. I'm not one to judge that. I don't know all the details and what happened between them in their personal lives. If Artem hit her, it depends on what the situation was, but I would usually say a man should never hit a woman unless it's absolute self-defense. But we don't know all the circumstances. I mean, really, the only two people that know what happened were them, and there were probably other things that we don't even know about. But hey, if she's making more money than Artem, more power to her, and at least that money is going to her child. So it's not like it's just going to him. And hopefully they're on decent terms for the sake of their son. I just feel bad for their son. Out of everything that has happened here, as somebody who's been through that whole scenario with parents getting a divorce, it's tough. It's difficult, especially when you're young. I was a little bit older. I was 11, 12 when my parents got divorced, and it was a little hard, but I did get through it, and thankfully they were on decent terms. Not at first, but things did get better over time, and hopefully that's the case with the three of them, and over time Nikki and Artem will be able to do what's best for their child. I mean, I just feel bad for the child in all this, you know. That's my take on it, and don't really have much else to say about it. But yeah, thank you for the super chat, Mr. Tito. Best wishes to everybody involved in that. You know, it's very complicated. It sucks. All right, let's get back to the email questions. I very much appreciate the email questions, so let's get to those. Lee Samples sent in this email question. Lee says, hey, Aaron, longtime viewer and fan of you and the No DQ Galaxy. Lee says he'll be attending his first live event at SmackDown this Friday in Savannah, Georgia. And Lee wants to know if I have any advice for him or recommendations based off of personal experience. Well, first of all, enjoy your first live event. I mean, I think you'll have a great time at that. Tickets these days are very expensive, but I think you'll still have a good time. My advice, first of all, typically the worst things about these shows is dealing with traffic. So I don't know how you plan on getting there, but make sure you have a game plan. If you can walk as far as possible. Like if you're driving, park as far away as you can walk. And if you're taking public transportation, that can be tricky too. I've heard stories of people not being able to get ride shares. And a way to avoid that is also to walk. Get far away from the arena as much as possible. It's May right now. The weather is good, especially in Georgia. So I always recommend if you can walk. Don't park or travel or get a ride share right near the arena because you're just asking for trouble and complications. For me, that's one thing I always look out for. And I would also say eat before you get to the arena. The arena is very expensive for food, and it's just difficult to eat in the arena. I did it one time. I did it at Madison Square Garden because I wanted to get food there. That was just a special experience for me. Normally, I do not do that. I eat before I go to the arena, and then if you're hungry at the end, when you leave, stop at a fast food or whatever is open at that time. That's what I would do. And as Uthman says, the majority of arenas are cashless. I know some people do this. I mean, a lot do, actually. I don't. People go to the merch stands. I don't really see the need to do that because a lot of the merchandise is available online. Sometimes they have like the city-specific merch, and you feel obligated to get that. And just make sure you check out their email. They send out emails with all the do's and don'ts. Make sure you follow their rules, and don't bring in things you shouldn't be bringing in. You don't want to be stopped. Don't bring in drinks or anything like that, because then they might have to check you. You could bring a sign, but at this point, I don't really recommend it. I mean, you could, but then you might risk that being confiscated as well. And try not to use your phone. I'm guilty of it. A lot of us are. But if you're going there, try to keep your phone off and enjoy the show. Take a few pictures, but don't be sitting there filming the whole thing the whole time. I mean, it's easy to say when you're not there. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. But yeah, try not to mess with your phone. And also bring an extra charger. Always have like one of those external chargers with you, because you might get caught up in something and you're out all day and your phone can die. It's happened to a lot of people. You don't want to not have your cell phone access because your battery died. So yes, definitely bring an external charger with you to the show. That's a great question. And chat room, if you have any other suggestions for Lee can watch through this and see what people say about it. Oh, and Mr. Tito, funny story here. Mr. Tito says, avoid drinking soda with your webmaster before attending an event. Mr. Tito ended up having to go to the hospital at the 2025 Royal Rumble when we were there in Indianapolis. Yeah, I mean, know your diet. I mean, be very careful. You don't want to get food poisoning or get sick before you go into the arena. So play it safe too. If you're going to eat before you go in, eat, drink stuff you're familiar with so you don't have any issues. That's another good idea. But yeah, chat room, leave your own thoughts and personal experiences as well, and Lee can look over those. All right, Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. The question here is, how would you book a Dirty Dom face turn? I've mentioned this before. I would like to see the split between Dominic and Liv Morgan. I'd like to see Finn Balor, and I'm still wanting to see this. They're doing this split storyline, but they're acting like Balor's going to be the one on the outs. It should be Dominic. I want to see that be the swerve here. I want Dominic and Liv to betray, or not Dominic and Liv. I want Balor and Liv to dominate. I can't even talk now. Try one more time. I want Finn Balor and Liv Morgan to betray Dominic Mysterio. And Dominic Mysterio is kicked out of Judgment Day. I don't know if they're going to keep Judgment Day going. I feel like the group may have run its course. But they kept talking about a new member. Maybe a new member comes in. Either way, Dominic gets kicked out of Judgment Day. And that's how you take Dominic to the next level. I feel like we're getting very close to a Dominic turn. The fans are just getting more and more behind him. They're not booing him out of the building anymore. They love Dominic, and rightfully so. I do agree with Ian. They should not drag this out anymore. It's really time to pull the trigger on the Dominic face turn. He does have that IC title, so he could drop that. You know what? Maybe he drops it to Sheamus. Judgment Day is pissed off and something happens with them, and then that's what leads to Dominic being kicked out. I want to see Sheamus get his Grand Slam. So maybe Sheamus beats Dominic, then you pull the trigger on the Dominic babyface turn. Craig Jones sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Craig. I appreciate it. Craig says, I am hoping to see Dr. Cena, I guess that's the doctor of Thuganomics, versus Joe Hendry. I know Joe Hendry has been pushing for this, but John Cena has a short amount of time left. I mean, yeah, it's about 6 months, but we're already halfway through the year or getting close to it. There's only so many matches Cena will have. They're wasting one on R-Truth. I really don't think they should be doing one on R-Truth. And might be an unpopular opinion, but I really don't think they should be wasting one on Joe Hendry either. I want to see one with CM Punk. I want to see one with Roman Reigns. Maybe one with Braun Breaker. One with Cody Rhodes. That's 4 right there. They're probably doing that tag match with Travis Scott, which I have no desire to see, but I get why they would do it because it's publicity for WWE. That's 5. You only have like 5 or 6 premium live events left. Could he show up to TNA? He could, but I don't think they're going to do that. I would be really shocked if he appeared in TNA. If Joe Hendry was going to have a match with Cena, I think it would be on the main roster. I definitely don't think they're going to waste a Cena appearance in TNA or NXT. It could be on a Saturday night's main event, but I at this point, I think they should stick to Cena going up against these top-level guys and make the most out of every John Cena appearance. With all due respect to Joe Hendry, it's a throwaway match if they do it. You know, it's really just fan service for your Joe Hendry fans. That's about it. You know, it's a little feel-good moment for Joe Hendry, but that's really all it would be. Thank you for that, Craig. I appreciate it. Let's get to the next email question here. This one comes from Steve-O. Shout out to Steve-O. Steve-O says, so what's the deal with AEW Collision ending early on Saturday night? He says he didn't watch it, but fans have said their feed on both Max and TNT got cut out early, and then the Black Adam movie starring The Rock started to play. Tony Khan said it was an issue with their TV studio, yet it was a pre-taped show. What do you think was going on? Weird scenario. Things happen. I mean, with a television show, a number of things can go wrong. And it's really credit to the people that produce the show, not just everybody in AEW, but also TBS and TNT. There's a lot of people involved, a lot of moving parts, and things can go wrong. The fact that this hasn't happened up to this point at all, I think they deserve a lot of credit. They've had one big screw up here. Out of 5 years of AEW programming on TBS and TNT, this is the first time something like this happened. If it happened 5 or 6 times, I'd say somebody needs to be fired. I'm just chalking it up to things happen. Every now and then something goes wrong. If it keeps happening, then you have to start wondering what's the deal here. But I'm not buying into any of these conspiracies. Oh, TNT, Warner Brothers Discovery is losing interest in AEW, so they're trying to sabotage them now. I've seen some really over-the-top conspiracy theories on this. I would not put any stock into that. I'm chalking it up to shit happens. And let's just move on. hopefully it doesn't happen again for a very long time, because it does make AEW look bad when something like this happens. You know, the people that are hating on AEW and want to find something to complain about, you know, this is just something they could say, oh yeah, look how terrible AEW is, you know, how low rent they are. Warner Brothers Discovery doesn't want them anymore. So it's just a matter of things happen every now and then. And I wouldn't think too much of it unless it keeps happening. All right. Speaking of AEW, Ian sent in this email question. Ian says, if Tony Khan does not put the title on Will Ospreay at All In and lets Jon Moxley's title reign last longer, do you see yourself potentially stepping away from coverage of AEW? It says, have a wonderful, fantastic day and stay safe. Well, thank you for that, Ian. Appreciate it. I am not going to stop watching AEW if Jon Moxley is champion for another year or 2 years or 5 years. They can do what the hell they want. I will keep watching. I will keep covering the shows. Do I think it's good business? No. I think the sooner Moxley loses the title, the better. But they're going to be fine. If Jon Moxley holds the title for another year, they're going to be fine. They will stay in business. I enjoy AEW. I like a lot of things about AEW. Do I think that they're perfect? No. Do I think they could do better business-wise? Of course. Do I think that there are changes they can make that would produce more compelling television? Absolutely. But I still enjoy AEW for what it is, and I will continue to support them and cover their product. And whether Jon Moxley's champion or not, I will continue to do my job here. But yes, the sooner he loses the title, the better. All right, we got this email question. This one comes from Chris K. Says, if you could bring back one retired wrestler for a final run, who would it be and how would you book their comeback? I did think about this one a little bit. And I can't really think of a guy who's 100% retired. I'm thinking more of guys that are towards the end of their career, and I want to see them make a comeback before they retire. See, I'm thinking of Chris Jericho. I can't really think of anybody who's retired now that I really want to see come back for a final run. Chris Jericho is still active, but he's doing Fozzy right now, and it feels like he's reaching the end. And I do want to see Jericho with one final run. So I'm going with Chris Jericho. It's not answering the question exactly as asked, but Chris Jericho's my pick because I do want to see him go back to WWE. I think he's done all there is to do in AEW. At this point, how many times can he come in and be the heel leader of a faction? It was great the first time. When he did the Inner Circle, 2019, it was great. It was less great when he did the Jericho Appreciation Society. And then even less great when he's doing the Learning Tree. I think it's time to move on. I do want to see Jericho back in WWE, go into the Hall of Fame, and maybe have one more big WrestleMania match before he retires. That's my answer. I don't know who I would pick because for guys that are retired and they wanted to retire, let them live their lives. I don't need to see them come back and do anything. You could argue that there are some guys that maybe got injured and had to retire early, but I can't really think of anybody that I would want to see come back. Pretty much everybody that was retired came back. Bryan did, Edge did, Saraya did. He's not really retired, but I'd like to see Big E come back and have one more run, maybe reform the New Day or feud with the New Day. But I don't know if that's going to happen or not. And, I guess he's not officially retired. So it's a hard question to answer. But yeah, Jericho, I think, is who I would go with as far as wrestlers that are at the end. And I want to see them make one last big run and come back. That would be Jericho in WWE. All right, this one is an email from Calvin. Calvin sent in this email and says, what's your favorite King of the Ring pay-per-view from the past? My favorite will always be the 1993 King of the Ring. That was the first one, and I think that really set the bar high. And I've always told people in various streams and videos, I love the one-night tournaments because it really puts over the winner when the winner has to win 3 matches in one night. It's a real endurance test. So for them to win not 1, not 2, but 3 matches, that says a lot about how tough they are to go through those 3 opponents and come out on top. Once they started going to where it's just the finals or the semifinals, they kind of lost their impact as far as I'm concerned. 93 will always be the best. Bret Hart did a great job. I enjoyed Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. Yeah, it was just a great King of the Ring. Bret Hart really carried it, and he was a very rightful winner of that tournament. All right. I got one more email question here, so this will be the last call if anybody wants to send in a question via Super Chat. Otherwise, this will be the last one. This one comes from Chris K. Shout out to Chris K. Thank you for the email question. Chris K says, with the rise of social media, how has the role of fan feedback changed the way wrestling promotions build characters and storylines? I think it definitely has made a bigger difference than before. I think as the years have gone on with social media's growth and WWE utilizing social media more, it really has become important. I know people in WWE will say, well, it's only like 1% of the audience, and you have wrestlers saying for every 10 people that dislike it, you have 100 people that love it, which is true. But also, I think the people on social media definitely have a lot of passion for it, and they are devoted. The real issue is trying to figure out who the trolls are and who the trolls aren't. Who's providing constructive, legitimate feedback, and who's just trying to stir things up. I like to point out this past Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite, Tony Khan brought back Mina Shirakawa, and she had new entrance music as a full-time member of the roster. People didn't like it, and they were vocal on social media, and he went and changed it pretty much on the spot. By the time she won the match, she was back to her old music. Tony Khan probably saw feedback from people that he knows provide constructive feedback. And he didn't listen to trolls. He actually listened to people that he knows care about the product and want to see it grow. Those people I think you should definitely listen to. It's just a matter of figuring out who they are. And I think that years ago, WWE didn't really care. You know, they very much felt like it's just a small percent of the audience. But now I do think that is changing. But also you have more trolling than before. I think that it's gotten tough to distinguish who's legitimate and who's not. But yeah, I think it's important to listen to feedback, and I think that is something that they are doing, and it is impacting storylines. Apparently, they pivoted The Rock and Roman Reigns' storyline because of the fan feedback and people being upset about Cody Rhodes. So in that case, the fan feedback made a huge difference in that storyline. And then you could also say going back to 2014. So it's been going on for a while. 2014 with Daniel Bryan, the fan feedback for that changed things. All right, we got one more here, and this is a little off topic, so we're going after dark here. Michael sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Michael says, who's your favorite horror killer and final girl? Man, you're putting me on the spot. I mean, I like the big three. I like Jason, Michael Myers, and Freddy Krueger. I always think I liked Jason as a killer the best, even though I think the Friday the 13th movies were the worst as far as quality goes, but I still liked the music and I liked the hockey mask and the Jason character. I always found those movies to be scary. And I liked the kills in those movies. So Jason would be my favorite, but as far as final girl, I mean, probably Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, I think that movie is really good. And I think part 3 is actually my favorite slasher movie of all time, Dream Warriors. And she's in that one too. So I think she would be my pick for the final girl, even though she didn't, spoiler alert, in case you never saw it, she didn't make it out of part 3 alive. All right, we got another question here. Psycho Jet Black is here just in time, just in the nick of time. Psycho Jet Black, we were worried about you, Psycho. Welcome back. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat and says, why does it seem like The Rock is uninterested in being in the storyline with Roman Reigns, as they are family, and you'd think that he would put him over? I think The Rock is just busy, man. I don't think that he's uninterested in doing the storyline. I think my opinion on it, The Rock had a bit of a rough 2023. And my opinion is that he came back in 2024 to try and boost his reputation and get people fully behind him again. I think it was a calculated move. And when crowds were, well, not crowds, when the internet was turning against The Rock and Roman Reigns, I think The Rock realized he had to change course. And he did it to make sure he got the positive fan feedback. And that's why they went with Cody. But I still question all that. I still wonder what the hell went on. That was one of the biggest mysteries to me. Like, what the hell happened with all that? I don't think The Rock is uninterested. He's just got a very busy movie career. I still wonder why he would go out there and tease something and not deliver. I don't know what that was about. Maybe he felt like somehow he could make it work, but he couldn't. I mean, as big of a name The Rock is, he still has to answer to people in Hollywood. He still has commitments. And yeah, I think he would do it if he didn't have all the other things going on. You know, he's a very busy man, and I don't really hold that against him. The only thing I think he did wrong by the fans was to go out there at Bad Blood and tease a match that he couldn't deliver. You know, that was bad on him. He should have just apologized for it and let us move on. Instead, he has to go out there and say, yeah, The Rock's 20 steps ahead, blah, 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 and then he doesn't show up at WrestleMania. Oh, he was just giving the spot to John Cena. He didn't want to interrupt that. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, The Rock, but The Rock's now a big commodity in Hollywood again, so, you know, he doesn't need to worry about whether the fans are on his side or not. He's a manipulator. He's a worker. I mean, what else can you say? It's the wrestling business. The Rock is a worker. He knows how to work people. He's one of the best at it. He wouldn't be where he's at today if he wasn't. That's what I have to say about The Rock. And on that note, I will go ahead and wrap things up for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thank you all so much, as always, for watching and supporting. I very much appreciate it. And if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a comment. What did you agree with or disagree with during this stream? And if you haven't subscribed already, please click on that subscribe button, and you know the drill. You hear it in every person's video. turn on the notification bell, blah, blah, blah. And just spread the word. Word of mouth goes a long way. Tell a friend. I'm back on Facebook, so follow me at Aaron Rift on Facebook. I got out of Facebook prison, thankfully. So follow me there. Follow NoDQ. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Say yes to NoDQ, and I will see you all next time.